Hey there, welcome back. I'm Devan, and today we have part 2 in a new series on this channel where I am reading aloud to you personal essays that I have written for my publication on Substack called A Little Nervy. I have done one of these essay read-alouds so far where I read you an introduction to my online publication and why I chose the name A Little Nervy for the essays that I have been sharing. And today I wanted to share with you an essay that I published in June, right when I started sharing more about my husband Justin's diagnosis of bipolar 1 and the effects that that had on our life and my experiences in this new stage of our mental health journey together. And if you're interested in knowing a little more about that story and our journey and where we've been and where we are now, I will link to a playlist of mental health update videos that I recorded on this channel that are kind of more rambles of me just talking to you about the situation and telling you how we were doing at different steps along the way. And then, as I said, I will link to my full Substack publication so that you can read some more recent essays if you would like and be a little more up to date on where we are right now. But I feel like this essay today gives a context for the other writing that I have been doing since then, and so I wanted to include this as the second installment in this Read Aloud series. And I do want to say that there are some difficult emotional topics discussed in these essays, and so I want you to be aware of that and to take care of yourself in case there might be anything that might be emotionally triggering for you in any of these essays. This is an ASMR channel. It is meant to be relaxing, but I also think that there's an important place for discussing mental health issues in the ASMR community, which is why I want to bring forth these essays that are about my feelings and my emotions and, sort of the true story of how I have felt over these last months, because I hope it might help others who are having similar experiences and help to just sort of build a transparency around these things that we all deal with and sometimes we don't talk about enough. So, having given that introduction, I would like to share with you from my Substack publication, A Little Nervy, an essay which I published on June 24th, 2023, titled My Spring of Surrender: How My Husband's Unexpected Mental Health Diagnosis Knocked Me Flat and Helped Me Rise Again. Since January, I've had a draft essay sitting in limbo with the tentative title, A Broken Tooth, a Broken Dishwasher, and Lessons in Surrender. I had started to write a piece about a series of weird, annoying, and unexpected events that occurred over the course of a few weeks this past winter, and how they forced me to surrender, accept, and stop trying to control everything in my life. I was letting go in a pretty radical way for me, and felt I was making some deep internal emotional progress. Then something happened that made all those weird inconveniences seem like absolutely nothing. First experience with mania. In March, My husband Justin experienced his first extreme manic episode. Don't know exactly what that means? I didn't either. In fact, I had no idea what was happening until weeks later, after he'd been admitted to the hospital and, spoiler alert, was diagnosed with bipolar 1 disorder at the age of 43. In the early stages of his manic episode, I didn't know he had this diagnosis or even what mania was. I just knew that my husband was acting weird. He was being way more outgoing than usual and more confident in himself. Cocky even, which is not at all his typical personality. After eschewing social media for his entire adult life, he suddenly started an Instagram account and began prolifically sharing about his favorite bands and audio equipment. He was staying up all night working on creative projects and was unceasingly upbeat and energetic. He was happy. Too happy, in fact, and it was freaking me out. At first, I thought he was having some sort of creative awakening. Then his behavior became so unlike him that for a few days I thought he was having a midlife crisis and was going to leave me. It wasn't until he started having what seemed like war flashbacks, even though he's not a veteran, and began tearing our house apart and urgently rearranging things because the colors weren't right, that I realized something was terribly wrong. But still, I had no idea what I was dealing with. After spending an incredibly frightening day trying to calm him from these relentless obsessions and figure out what was happening to the man I'd loved for over 20 years, I knew I needed help. I called his parents who live nearby, and they took him to their house, where his behavior became angry and increasingly psychotic. We made the decision to call 911 because we didn't know what else to do. He was taken to the emergency room, spent a night there, and then was transferred to the behavioral health ward at a local hospital. Several more surreal and terrifying days followed, during which he didn't recognize me, was rambling nonsensically and nonstop, and seemed tortured to his very soul. He was eventually given an emergency dose of antipsychotic medication, which calmed his agitation and brought him some relief. It was several more days, which seemed like years, until I spoke directly to a doctor, was given his diagnosis of bipolar 1, and heard for the first time the term for what he had experienced: an extreme manic episode and psychosis. Adjusting to bipolar life. That was 3 months ago, and so much has happened since then. Justin came home from the hospital much improved, but still in a milder manic state, which was very challenging to our relationship. As the mania gradually dissipated, he then slipped down into a heavy depression, which left him lethargic, unfocused, and unable to engage with music or any of the things he most loves in life. This progression is very typical and expected with bipolar, but it is all very new to us and has been exhausting and overwhelming to navigate. This experience and his diagnosis have changed our life forever. This all sounds incredibly extreme, and it is, but overall, somehow, we are doing okay. Justin is recovering slowly and steadily, and over the last few weeks, his depression has begun to lift. He and I can communicate and connect much better now than when he was in mania, and we're working through things together as a team, day by day. Our relationship has survived, and he is safe and not in crisis anymore, and those are the most important things. We have a lot of support and resources, and we're not alone in this, but it is truly the most challenging thing I have ever faced. I've been stronger than I ever thought I could be, and I've had to surrender my lifelong tendency to control and fix and reach a whole new level of acceptance and faith to keep going. We've made some major life changes pretty abruptly in support of Justin's recovery. Ceasing some very old destructive habits, drastically reducing the stress levels in our life, and getting really serious about boundaries and direct communication with the people we love. Even though this has turned our life upside down in a way we never could have predicted, in a way it's a blessing, because it's forced us to burn away a lot of the rubbish in our life and focus only what is most essential. Sharing our story. I'm sharing all this here, right now, because it's time. It's time for me to start sharing my voice and my experience and putting my words out into the world again. Even though it's messy and disjointed and disturbing, and I have no idea what I'm doing, I want to write about these feelings and this journey because that's what I need to heal and to find myself again. This is just a snapshot, a rough skeleton of what these past months have been like. I've been journaling prolifically just to stay sane, just to get it all out and try to make sense of all the conflicting feelings, reactions, and impulses I've experienced. I don't have a plan for how to best lay out this story to you, or how to organize my turmoils and triumphs into neat and tidy essays. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try because it's important. Because Justin and I both want to be honest and brave and tell the world about what we've been through to soothe our own souls and perhaps help someone else who is struggling. This experience has lit a fire in my heart to educate people about manic episodes and what they look like. I can see now that Justin was exhibiting clear warning signs of escalating into mania and was checking all the boxes for symptoms of bipolar, but at the time I had no idea what was happening. I keep thinking to myself that we all know the signs of a heart attack. Why do we not know the signs of someone slipping into psychosis? I think the depression side is easier. People have some idea what that looks like. But mania is tricky because at first it can seem like a positive thing. It was like, my husband is not himself. What's wrong? Well, he seems too energetic and too happy and too confident in himself, and it's weirding me out. Didn't seem like something I would logically call up a doctor about. I have faith that Justin will continue to lift up out of his current depression and get back to a place of equilibrium that he can hopefully sustain. I'm trying to focus on the long game of our life and do the best I can to patiently manage what arises day by day. Right now, we're focusing on the basics of self-care, allowing our hearts and bodies to heal and rebuilding our life together, one day at a time. Mental illness touches all of us, but it's something we don't talk about enough. There is so much to learn, and so many ways we can help and support each other. For me, this journey is just beginning, and I truly don't know where I'm going. The fact that I can accept that uncertainty, most of the time, and still keep moving forward gives me a spark of hope that I want to keep nurturing. Words have always been my friends, my nourishment, my stability. They have never failed me, and I want to keep trusting them now as I walk tentatively into the light and do my best to share my steps and stumbles. Thanks for being here with me. thank you for listening to that essay entitled My Spring of Surrender, which I published on my publication A Little Nervy on Substack, which I will link to in the description of this video. And I will say that Justin has improved greatly since I published this essay back in June. He did come out of the depressive phase of his bipolar arc, and he is doing a lot better now, and we are in a pretty good place. We are continuing to heal and continuing to take things day by day, and I'm learning that this situation will never be over and things will never go back to normal. We are creating a new life and a new normal and a new routine and a new way of living for ourselves each day as best we can. So I thank you for listening, and I really appreciate you being here with me for this journey and allowing me a space to share my voice and my experience with you. I would love to hear any of your thoughts or any of your own experiences that you would like to share with me in the comments. And I will be back again soon to share another essay in this series with you so that we can continue the conversation. And again, I just really thank you for allowing me this space to share my words with you. Take good care of yourself, rest well, and I'll see you again soon.